you have got to have gone through some stuff in your life to be an entrepreneur, period. Because, like, you have to be resilient. Like, to be a successful
Yes.
entrepreneur, you have to be resilient. And I don't
Yes.
think that when people look at their experiences in their life, they realize how resilient they actually are. When you get into your entrepreneurial world, like you're in year 5, you really have to do the hard work of looking at yourself if you're gonna take the brand or the business to the next level. You gotta, like, heal your demons and exercise them and all that. But what it really comes down to is that's what makes you successful is because you've overcome all these other things.
Welcome back to the Bringing Up Business podcast, where we talk about business and parenting. Whether you want to start your own business or you're already working for yourself and you're planning a family, you are in the right place. Our goal is to empower you with strategies and different perspectives so you can confidently build your business and your family your way. I am your host, Kayla Sachet, mom and serial business owner. My favorite business is my marketing and creative agency called Umari Digital. Umari Digital specializes in websites, email marketing, and branding for small businesses. Today's guest, Samantha Masabny, is co-founder of the Woods Maine. The Woods Maine is a luxury hospitality and retail brand. Beyond the Woods Maine, Sam works with business owners and companies to refine their brand strategy and enhance customer experience. When she is not building brands, she is probably traveling with her husband and 8-year-old daughter, playing golf, or enjoying great food with friends and family. Samantha, I too am a foodie, and while sadly we will not be talking about food today, I'm still so glad you could join me. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course, of course. I've been so excited for our conversation. So first, let's do a quick dive into your journey. Which came first for you? Working for yourself or becoming a mom?
Becoming a mom. Becoming a mom
Ooh,
came first for me. I actually think it was a huge catalyst in me becoming an entrepreneur because it made me more fearless. I mean, if you can experience birth, you pretty much can do anything. I mean, it is the most unnatural, natural thing that has ever happened to me. And I'm like, okay, everything after that is got to be easy. So that was my thought process. But no, I had Andy and I really had to start looking at myself and where I was mentally, where I wanted to be, and who I wanted to be as she got older. And there was a lot of self reflection in that and deciding alongside with my husband that we really wanted to craft a life that we wanted together. And there were some material shifts, and the universe kind of nudged us to where we are now. Actually, in some
yeah.
cases, it may have shoved us, but we heeded the warnings and we saw them. And but I think I don't know if I would be where I am if I hadn't had her.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely get that. Motherhood is you mentioned that it was natural and unnatural, and I couldn't resonate with that anymore. I get it. Everybody tells you when you have a baby, oh, you're going to naturally just know what to do. Like your body's gonna do its thing for birth and then breastfeeding. Oh, that'll be so easy and simple if if breastfeeding is a chosen route for you. And oh, you're gonna know exactly how to handle your crying baby. No, I had I was so lost, beyond lost. It
My
was
God. It was
terrifying.
I admit it, I think I was pretty miserable for, like, 18 months.
Yeah.
And what was crazy is I thought I had postpartum depression because of how I felt, and I went to a therapist, and I sat down with her, and I basically told her everything was going on with me. I was about 6 weeks after, and I was like, I think I have postpartum." She's like, "No, everything that you said is what it happens when you become a parent and a mother, and it's all situational." And I was like, "Can I get my money back? Like, how come nobody's talking about this? Sorry, but seriously, why isn't anybody talking about this?" And I was like, "This is absolutely absurd." And this whole idea of, like, bonding with your child, and it didn't happen for me, and I thought that there was something wrong with me. Um, but when I was telling a friend of mine, I will never forget what she said, "It took me 8 weeks to bond with my son." And I go, "What?" She's like, "It's a real thing." And I was like, "Why are we not talking about this?" And I'll tell you, I really do believe what saved my life was I didn't even know doulas existed. Oh, a little bit of background, when I got pregnant and I had my daughter, I had lost my mom when I was 28, and I had Andy, I think, when I was 34. So, not having my mom, that was like a big thing. Now, luckily, I have my mother-in-law, and she's a saint, and I love her, and it's a second chance at a mother. And I have my aunts and, so many people that have rallied for me. But I didn't know, like, with the birthing process, like, that you had a thing called a doula, and my uncle, the saint that he is, him and my aunt, they gifted me a doula for overnights because I was really struggling, and they did that for me. But I'll tell you, the 2 doulas that I had saved my life. I think that my entire first 18 months of my experience and pregnancy would have been so much different if I had known about a doula and what they bring to the table, and there's just so many aspects that they are looking out for you as a mother. I didn't even know that existed. They literally saved my life. To this day, I still talk to them. They have such a special place in my journey, but I think that we as women and parents, and especially now in the world of social media, do ourselves a disservice for not talking about. I mean, we talk about how hard it is and how tired it is, but, like, the mental health implications of it, especially if, and at the time I didn't realize I had the entrepreneurial human inside of me. I think I kind of did in certain ways. But I think that that's what I struggle with as well, is like, what is my purpose now? Because I didn't realize I was an entrepreneur yet because I hadn't gotten there. However, this craving in career felt shattered because I didn't know where I was meant to be anymore. But I was being told you're meant to be a mother and that's all you need to think about. But then there's this whole other career side of me going, but I have really big ambitions.
Mm.
And this feels like a really big thing that I can't even wrap my brain around. How am I ever gonna do that? So it was almost like I was grieving the loss of who I was and a career that I had yet to discover without realizing that I needed to go through this process of becoming a mother, to become fearless, to realize I could dig myself out of the hole and come back stronger, and more fearless that would actually set me up for my entrepreneurial jump, if that makes any
Ooh,
sense.
it doesn't make sense. It's like down deep into my soul. It makes complete sense. Being an ambitious woman in this world is like it's like David and Goliath, right? We are just the small David against this huge societal Goliath telling us that we get married, we have babies, and that is our purpose in life. And let me be clear, it is completely okay if you just want those things.
Here's the thing, I admired that. That actually made me in some ways feel a little less during the process because I wasn't there, but I saw how awesome it could be, and that's what I struggled to reconcile because I didn't realize, like, it's okay to be both.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
okay to be a mom and be 100% dedicated to your children in the sense that that is your mission, that is your world. I think that that is amazing.
Yeah.
And I just knew that there was something bigger in me that needed to get done for me in my purpose. And I didn't know how I was going to get there with being a mom because it's such an important job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it was like I felt guilt in trying to pursue that, or the thought of pursuing that, or the thought of letting that die because I had this bigger priority. That was like a mental struggle. I don't even know if I've ever really communicated it that way until now, but I think that that's what
Yeah.
was going on in my brain.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but she is the why I do what I do now.
Yeah.
Like she is the person, the soul, the energy that has made me step into who I am, you know? So I
Mm.
say to
Mhm.
myself, like, I may have not bonded with her early on in terms of like the first couple weeks, but now, like, she's my ride or die.
Mm. That is so beautiful because it's so easy for us to say, you know what, we have kids, we have to focus on our kids. Everything else is back burner. And it's probably not going to happen now. It can happen later after they move out. And understandably so. Raising kids takes a lot of time and bandwidth and energy and when we want to do our best for them, it's super easy to say everything else is last priority. However, you have been able to flip that on its head and say, you know what? Because of my daughter, because of my baby, that is why I'm going to pursue my calling.
She's my teacher. Like, that's the thing is like, I look at her as my teacher. And I look at her as a mirror and going, okay, I need to work on my, my own triggers. Or,
Mhm.
okay, I need to learn how to do this differently so that she has the tools to do it differently. But I also like the fun and the creativity and the lack of filter. It drives me insane, but I also admire and say to myself, I need to get more back to that because that is more connected than where we are as adults with all the pressures and filters and things. And full disclosure, I have not done this on my own, and I wanna be very, very clear about that. I have been blessed with an amazing partner. My husband is an amazing partner. Growing up with a mom, because I lost my father when I was at, 10 months old. He was 33, my mom was young. My mom was a single mom, and I don't know how I have a whole different level of respect for what she did. And I know what it's like to grow up in that type of household or divorce and things like that. I've been through all of that. So from a child's perspective, but my husband and I are a team. And I will say that I wouldn't be who I am if he didn't support us in the way that he does. And not everybody gets that support. Um, but everybody does deserve that support. So whether you're in a relationship that is no, you're not getting that support, you're not in the right spot and it's hard to get out, but freedom is on the other side of that fear. And so, the other thing too is it's not to say you can't do it alone. It's just it can be harder. But those supports do not have to be in a partner. It could be in the friends that you surround yourself with. It could be in your community. That's why we moved to Norway. Having lost my parents, I had the perspective that if something happened to both my husband and myself, I know that the community of Norway would rally around my daughter. That is why I decided to anchor myself, my business, and my roots here in this community because it's unlike anything I've ever experienced. That is the reason why, is because I know that they would surround my child with the support that she needed. And not having my folks, that's what I needed to make sure was set up for her. And that was a big catalyst of why we decided to root ourselves here as a family, but also our business is to be part of the revitalization of our community.
Mm. Mm. You know, there is a misconception when we become mothers or parents in general that the village will support us. And the village is this super vague, undescribed concept of mystery people who are going to step into our lives and magically help us raise our babies. And after having become a mother myself, I have realized that the village is a total fallacy unless we take steps to make it a reality. And that's exactly what you did. You said, you know what? Norway is the place where I can raise this child and have the support that is needed so you're not alone.
It's like when you lose someone or you go through something difficult, the people that you think are going to be the people that show up are often not the people that you think are gonna be there when you actually need them. That was very surprising when I became a parent. I'm certainly not gonna be calling anybody out here, but people that I thought would step up to the plate and be in my life didn't, and the ones that I knew were gonna always be there, but the way and the fierceness in which they showed up for me, and emotionally, financially, whatever it was that I needed, the way that they showed up for me was so amazing, but I think the most amazing part coming out of it is that I have no issues with those that didn't. I have no resentment. I'm at peace with it all because I say to myself, who knows what's going on in their life, right? And I look at it and I sit there and I give grace to that, or I don't hold it against them, and I just try to continue to model that. But like you said, it's you have to step into it, you have to accept it, but you also have to ask for help. You
Mm,
have to be vulnerable, and especially if you're in business and you're type A and you like to control things and you like things done the way that they're done, and you have a certain mindset and outset, that is very challenging to step out of your own way and raise your hand and say, "I'm drowning. I'm dying. I don't have this." Because it's a pride thing, it's a control thing, but it's essential for mental and physical survival.
yep, yep, yep. And part of it too could also be just the not knowing how to ask. Not even knowing A, that that's an option, and B, how how do you do it? How do you ask for help? First, like, how do you even recognize that you need help? I'm speaking specifically to the person who is so used to taking things on by themselves, right? That's just like the first instinct.
That's me.
That's you. That's you. That's me too.
So I'll say I let it go too far.
Mm,
So, like, I didn't
mm,
ask soon enough.
mm,
I will say that the tendencies I had early on with my daughter when I had her, because all I knew was being raised by a single mom, and it was only, like, after I stepped back did I realize, like, my husband would say to me, "You know, you're not doing this alone." Like, my thought process was doing it alone as a single mom because that's what I knew.
right.
"I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this." You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
being so hard on myself because I couldn't get up for 2 weeks after I gave birth. You know what I mean? And, like, letting go of control of him doing all the diapers or whatever it might be. Um, and I have to, like, dig back in the memory bank. There's, like, a reason why we forget about it, right? Like, how traumatic it was. You're like,
Right.
"Just block it out." Gotta, like,
Yeah.
dig back. But I think I waited too long in some cases to ask for help out of pride, but it was really just, like, to a point where, like, I just cracked open and was completely emotionally unreasonable, with myself. But that also opened up a lot of things that I needed to work on myself with healing,
Yeah.
what I needed to take on, what was my scars that I needed to what patterns did I need to change, all the deep stuff that nobody has time to go through, but at some point you're gonna have to face if you really wanna grow. But, like, those type of things that now I recognize when I need help more, especially in business. It's been, growing a business is very challenging, and growth can be very scary and very unnerving and exciting and all the things at once, but they're high highs and low lows. And I had some pretty low lows last March. And I had to reach out for help for my mental health. And I couldn't take it anymore because I was doing all of the things along with I was trying to do it all myself. The
Mm,
finances, the this, the that. And I don't think I would have made it through if I hadn't reached out for help, frankly. Um,
mm.
but I think that's something that we always need to remind each other of as parents, as entrepreneurs, that, like, you have to do it. And it's not weak. It's actually really, really a strength to be able to do that and then execute the recommendations you're given, or the constraint that you have to implement, or the patterns you have to change. Like, those are strengths. And I think that that growth and development if your child can see you implement that. Those vulnerabilities, I try to explain to Andy when she was younger about emotional boundaries. She had a friend in her class who had lost his father. And so she was home one day and we were talking about it. And she got to a point where she was going to cry. And she says, I want to stop. I want to stop. She was very young. I want to stop. And I said, are you at your boundaries? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, we're going to stop. But that conversation held on. So now when we're talking about asking for help and things like that, she says, I'm at my boundaries, or she says, I'm over my boundaries. So we can gauge where we are. But it's that type of stuff, both as a parent, but also in business, is super, super important. There's so much, I mean, your business is your child.
Yep.
Your business is your child.
Yep.
So not only are you raising a human, you're raising a business. It gets very complicated when both are in the early stages of their life. And you, as a leader, need to do the work to clean up your own crap so that you
Yeah.
can change your own patterns to raise your child right and keep your business straight. The principles are the same, just different
Yep.
applications. But I think
Yes.
what's so important about that is the more and more you talk to entrepreneurs, you talk about mental health, which I don't think is talked about enough. Um, you're like, oh my God, you experience that too? Again, going back to the parenting thing early on, why don't we talk about these things?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the little literal moments like everybody sees us on Instagram and doing this or podcasts, or they didn't see me in March curled up on the ground going, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
They would never
And
believe I
I
said that.
Yeah, and you know what? I think people are not only afraid to display their vulnerabilities, so even capturing it in some sort of medium and expressing it to the world is already the first barrier. The first barrier of acceptance. The second barrier of acceptance that I can see within society is that society sees that behavior if they're even able to see somebody else curled up or crying or whatever it looks like, and it's written off. It's like, oh, that person has lost it, quote unquote. That person is quote unquote crazy, and it's just it's not regarded for the full spectrum of emotion that fortunately, unfortunately, we get to experience as humans. It's like all of the good happy dappy stuff, like that's totally accepted. Fine. That's not written off. But for some reason, the other side of the spectrum, the sadness, the anger, the shame, that isn't regarded in the same way. And this is my perspective. I don't know if you're seeing it the same way, maybe not.
Yeah, I think it's, but yes, I think when we're talking about the perception piece, I came across something on a feed the other day. And I forget the term the person used, but it was something like, I don't want to say sympathy marketing, or like it was something like that. She was putting something vulnerable out there, but there was like some sort of tie to like someone could look at, potentially interpret the post as like, oh, I'm trying to sell things based on my struggles with the business and where we are as economy. And I took a pause and I was like, I wish I could just reshape how she went to market with that a little bit, because it's almost like she was apologizing for being vulnerable, and trying to be like, "Hey," to any like, proactively getting ahead of anybody going, "You're just trying to make people feel bad so they buy your product." Like, she was going to market in a way that apologized for it, and it just made me feel sad.
Yeah.
Because she shouldn't have to feel like she has to proactively apologize because of what's gonna happen in the comment section, but she should be able to be vulnerable and just being like, "This is a really hard time, and shopping local with me could make a difference in my life," and that's not a pity thing, that's a real thing. And so I actually did a post on our Instagram account the other day. I do these, like, shop thoughts, and most of them are product focused and stuff, and I did one the other day of, like, why shop local, and shopping local shouldn't just be a holiday thing. It should be year round. But it also, like, the why behind why I started the Woods Maine Shop and what brands we curate and who we work with. The reason why I do it now is because I want financial security, obviously, for my family, but I could create careers that don't exist in my rural area of Maine. I could literally create product experts and I can create sales directors and I can create an organization that operates like my background in tech and create an organization and employ people and give them financial freedom. Like, holy crap, that is so crazy and impactful. And I know I was put on this earth to help people, but imagine a world where I can grow our online business and our retail store where it creates jobs and career paths and fills people with passion and maybe, they can be entrepreneurs within our organization. Like and not only that, when you buy our goods, not only are you supporting our small business, but if you buy the goods of the people we carry, our orders get bigger with those makers. And then all of a sudden, I'm able to impact their livelihoods. That's why you shop local, right? So when someone is struggling in their small business and they are being vulnerable and putting themselves out there, it's not to have a sympathy purchase. It's for people to understand the trials that and the mental and emotional things that entrepreneurs go through. It's them saying, "Hey, I'm going to be vulnerable with you and tell you a little bit more about my story." But I think that it's hard for people to be vulnerable and show that side. I've become more comfortable speaking out about my mental health struggles as being a mom early on, which was very challenging because everybody looked at me sideways. A lot of people looked at me sideways with being honest about how I didn't enjoy it early on. Like I love her and I loved her, but I didn't love the experience that I was experiencing like most people portray. And I think that betrayal, like how you portray yourself in business and as a parent oftentimes has to be calculated because what can happen in the comment section. And we're in such a world now where whether you're a parent or whether you're a business owner, comment sections can bury your life faster than you could imagine. It could go viral. It could go south on ratings. I mean, that's a story for another day, but our shop, we got nefarious ratings before we even opened our shop early on 14, 15, 16 because of a legal dispute that we were in. We ended up winning. There was nothing wrong. But people nefariously went there that never shopped with us, no business, and gave us one-star reviews before we even opened our shop. We're still digging out on Google with our reviews. It's crazy, right? But people can bury you as a person and a business in minutes now. So there is less of an appetite for people to show their vulnerability as a parent or as a business owner.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that automatically puts a cap on your ability to discuss these things.
Yeah. Oh, that is an incredibly important point because the public perception of us as individuals, as parents, and as business leaders, especially as business leaders, right? Because our public perception as a business leader affects our business. They are one and the same in today's day and age. Gone are the days where you could run a business silently in the background and be a separate thing. I mean, you could try, right? But the internet sleuths. The internet will investigate and find out who you are, who you're tied to, and vice versa. If your business is doing something funky, they're going to find out who the owner of that business is, right? So on one side, it's almost a good thing, right? That there's so much accountability in today's society, right? It can be a good thing. Businesses can do better knowing that there are real repercussions for taking bad actions. On the flip side though, it does quell people's desire to want to express themselves fully for the fear of being judged and therefore persecuted. So yeah, it's definitely a weird time.
The thing that I've resisted the most is putting myself out there and my face out there, especially as I grow our brand. Because growing up, I was always self-conscious. I just was always feeling judged, or if I was or I wasn't. I just was a very insecure person in a lot of ways. Um, and I putting myself out there for criticism was like my worst nightmare. Um, and then having a child and putting myself out there and subjecting them to things that I put out there or whatever just felt terrifying, frankly. And unfortunately, I have learned that the more that I've put myself out there for my brand, the more people get to know me and my team and their faces and our stories and our voices and our personalities, the more my brand has grown. And I hate that because it is so uncomfortable. However, as one of my amazing coaches once told me, my work is to get comfortable being uncomfortable every single day, both as a parent, both as a business owner. And so I just do my one takes of my product spotlights. I put them out. God bless. I close my eyes. I send them to my paid ads guy. We run the paid ads against them and God bless, right? But it works. But it's also gotten me comfortable in my own skin. It's gotten me comfortable just being like, I'm not going to wear makeup. I'm going to throw a baseball cap on because guess what? I don't care what I look like. I want you to know about this amazing product that we carry because guess what? You're going to love it. You're going to want to get it. You're going to want to get it for your friend. You're going to tell your friends about it. And you buying that is going to impact that maker's life. So it's not about me anymore. And I think that is what's gotten me out of that headspace is that if it's not about me, it's about the mission. Um, and so
Yes.
that's what I'm trying to also teach my daughter now is that this isn't about the Woods Maine isn't about us anymore. It's about the guests we serve in the treehouse, and it's about the customers that walk through that door, and it's about the makers we carry, and being an outlet for us creatively, and the financial security that we hope to once have with this and the financial security I hope to once give to both my employees and our makers just from the Woods Maine revenue stream in their life, that's far greater than if someone wants to chew me up in the comment section anymore. Because my
Yeah.
hope is that those that follow us, that those that surround us in our Woods Maine community, in our own community, friends, family, they're going to go and fight that battle for me in the comment section. And I just got to move on. And I'm not entirely there yet, but I'm getting closer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And now, a quick message from our sponsor. If you've ever played golf, you know that it's more than just a game, it's a statement. Omnix Golf is providing golfers a bold new way to express themselves on and off the course. Their premium golf bags and accessories combine top-tier functionality with standout style, empowering you to bring personality to your play. Whether you're aiming for a clean, classic look, like my Omnix golf bag, or you're looking for something that turns heads at the tee box, Omnix has you covered with gear that's as unique as your fashion. Designed for performance and built to last, every Omnix golf product reflects their commitment to quality, innovation, and individuality with unmatched, unrestrained, and vividly bold golf bags. If you're ready to elevate your golf game and style, visit omnixgolfusa.com and try a new bag with their 6-month guarantee. And you can save 10% on your Omnix Golf order with coupon code BUB. That's omnixgolfusa.com, coupon code BUB. Let your gear speak for you, because at Omnix Golf, the course is your canvas. Thank you for staying with us, and back to the show. Going to market and marketing, putting yourself out there, putting your business out there is a form of desensitizing your vulnerabilities, right? Like so it's like because you're putting yourself out there over and over again. And yeah, you're going to receive negative feedback every once in a while. By seeing that negative feedback over time, it's going to have less and less of an impact on you. So
Yes.
it's there's a bravery in getting out there and saying, "Look, I'm scared right now, and I'm gonna do this anyway," because
But I
there
think it
is a
ties
light at
back
the
to
end of the
being a
tunnel.
parent. But I think
Yeah,
it ties
yeah,
back to being a parent. Like I said, when I had Andy, she made me more fearless. And it's like, how do I continuously embrace that and demonstrate that for her? I don't put the face on every day and then I'll put a camera in front of me and I'll put bloopers out, which was not my idea. That was my team. And now people like our bloopers. But like that showing that side of me, I was not uh on board with, but my team says it's awesome and actually it's quite funny now. But being able to laugh at myself or being able to put myself out there, like that is something that I want her to see,
yeah,
right? Is that I can do it. And so I struggle with telling her, especially when it comes to the social media aspect, like you're not going to be on social media for whatever time frame it is. But then she sees me on there doing these things, right? That is something that I struggle with as I'm trying to raise her in this new world. However, what I'm trying to do is integrate her as much as possible with the business. So the business, we did this not just to fulfill like my own career thing, but it was to craft the life that we want. So how do we get her more integrated in this? So if she wants to manage social media or have a social media, she can manage our business account as she gets older or whatever it might be, then I can monitor it. So there's certain ways that we're trying to balance that, but the vulnerability piece, especially as a parent. So even if you're doing like parenting blogs or parenting tips or whatever it is, you wanna come across as this, like, parent that's like, "I got this all together," and stuff like that, because if you start to show your vulnerability, you're worried about what happens in the comment section, but the one thing I will say, I've noticed both on parenting posts and I've noticed in Entrepreneur, people will show up to support you more than the people that won't. If you actually go into those comment sections, the words of support, the words are like, "Thank you for saying that. I didn't have the bravery to say it out loud," especially under parenting posts, like, that's what we need to be doing more. I guess what I'm trying to say is don't be scared to put that out there, and if you don't know how to ask for help, sometimes the community in which you are online with, you put that out there, you see how many people show up for you there.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. You know, the scariest post that I ever posted was right after I was diagnosed with postpartum depression, and I just had this internal calling to post it, to post it, to post it. And I was so scared to talk about that. I didn't want to be judged as a less than mother, an incapable mother. Worse, I didn't want anybody to knock on my door and take my kid because I was unfit, right? But I just kept having this calling, I gotta post this thing. And as soon as I did, I felt a release of that weight. And what came into my comment section was exactly as you described. It was all supportive. All of it was love. Now, am I saying to our listener like, "Hey, if you post something vulnerable, you will get 100% love back?" No, I can't guarantee that. The internet can be savage. But what I can say is that by posting the hard things, people resonate with that and it helps them feel seen too. Because who knows how many people had seen the post and were going through something similar, but didn't know how to verbalize it. And what I had posted gave word to something, it gave a confirmation to a reality that they'd been suffering with. And now they feel less alone, less crazy, and they have more tools to move forward.
I also think that a lot of times, especially if you're talking in the entrepreneurial vein, speaking about your traumas, the things that you've experienced in life, a lot of it is also to like protect your partner, protect your family, protect the perception of other things. But I think that you have got to have gone through some stuff in your life to be an entrepreneur, period. I mean,
Period.
honestly, trauma, trauma is like probably an entrepreneurial quality, part of a DNA of an entrepreneur, because, like, you have to be resilient. Like, to be a successful
Yes.
entrepreneur, you have to be resilient, and I don't
Yes.
think that when people look at their experiences in their life they realize how resilient they actually are. Um, and, like, when you get into your entrepreneurial world, like, you're in year 5, you really, like, have to do the hard work of looking at yourself if you're gonna take the brand or the business to the next level. You gotta, like, heal your demons and exercise them and all that hard crap you don't wanna look at. But what it really comes down to is that's what makes you successful is because you've overcome all these other things. I find it so fascinating that we don't talk about those things that happen to us as entrepreneurs. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do the work silently, but I'm gonna show up with strength. And you're like, okay, isn't that exactly what you shouldn't be doing? Shouldn't you be going, this is what happened to me? I'm still like, "Hey, so this happened to me when I was younger." Like, I'm still, like, letting people like, I'm just, like, coming out about, like, all this stuff in the last, like, year or 2. But like you said, that weight lifts off and you're like, "Okay, I'm on next level vibration now." Right? Like, I'm moving like, the universe, okay, I'm not living in that spot anymore. But it's so hard to do that because you want like, of all the factors we just talked about. So I just find it to be very, very fascinating that, like, I don't know why we don't talk about it more, like, even myself, I think people would minds would be blown if they actually sat down and entrepreneurs went off the litany of things that they experienced in life. People would be like, "Really?" Like, "Yeah, I lived through all of that." And not that's not to say that there were not great parts of life and childhood growing up and all of those good things, but all the
Sure.
things that hardened them, all the things that shaped their type A personalities and control issues to then lead them to entrepreneurship, like that, like, right there, I think people would be mind blown and be like, "Whoa." And I think that they would be in awe, and I think that the people would be like, "Wow, that's inspirational." But in our minds, we're like, "We can't talk about that shit."
Yes. Yes. And you know what's so fun? This is gonna sound kind of crazy, which is entrepreneurship, right? Entrepreneurship is crazy. It is, right? It's just like you're going into the unknown, doing something new, having faith that it's gonna work out when you have no idea whether or not it will, but you do it anyway. So you know what's fun about going through hard things is that yeah, it's really sucky when you're in the middle of it. It's the worst. It's the absolute worst. You feel like you're never things are never gonna change. It feels like forever. But when you are able to get out on the other side of the sucky thing, the future sucky things feel less sucky because you've already survived a really hard thing. It completely shifts your perspective. And now
Mhm.
you're stronger and more capable and more composed. For me, that was a big one. I realized, "Oh my gosh, when I go through hard things now with clients or work or whatever it is, I am more composed than ever." And it's not to say that I'm not feeling anything, 'cause I'm definitely feeling things, but I'm not letting those emotions completely wash over me and take over my entire life and grind me to a halt. Instead, I'm able to say, okay, I'm feeling really angry right now. Or I'm feeling really sad about this right now. And also, I know I can get through it because I've gotten through something similar before.
The thing I've said when I've talked to, like, colleagues in the past, but, like, when I'm going through an experience, I go, "Do I feel like I'm swimming upstream? Because if I feel like I'm swimming upstream, I'm going in the wrong direction. But if I have faith and turn my back with the current, it's gonna be bumpy, I'm probably gonna go off the side of a cliff, I'm gonna get cut up, but the idea is, like, it's going to lead me to where I'm meant to be ultimately." And like what you said it much more eloquently. I always say, like, sometimes when you're in the it like, when you're, like, going through it, you don't know why you're going through it, but the idea is that, like, when you do get to the other side, and have, like, faith in the universe, like, I am not a religious person, but I have faith in energy and bigger picture and vibrations and the woo-woo stuff that I never thought I'd have the woo-woo stuff. I'm woo-woo now. I've been converted to woo-woo.
Welcome to
Because
the
I
dark
have
side.
Yes, I know, but I've seen the power of the manifestation. I've been seeing the power of just, like, having faith, and sometimes I struggle and grapple with it in things that are going on in our world, in our schools, in our everything. I struggle with that. Um But then I remind myself, that is not where I need to be. I can only impact the circles around me, and I try to bring myself back to where I am and what I can do, which will keep me from, like, losing my mind. But the I don't know, have you ever seen Steve Harvey's Jump? Have you ever seen Steve Harvey's Jump? You know Steve
No.
Harvey?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So Steve Harvey, if you go on YouTube and you look up Steve Harvey's Jump, he was in between takes at Family Feud. But the concept is everybody's given a gift, whether it's to cut hair or do lawns or run a company or be a doctor. Everybody's given this gift. And the idea is like, it's a right that your parachute's going to open. You just have to jump. And at some point, that parachute will open. When I saw that, that was a big turning point in my journey because the concept that you have a God given gift, or if you believe in God or whoever it is, you have a gift. And the idea is you just need to jump off that cliff and just have faith that that parachute's going to open. But it's going to take work and it's going to take sacrifice. And happiness is a choice. You have to choose to intercept your thoughts and be happy. I've been pursuing happiness my whole 44 years. And just in the last year and a half have I realized that I have to make a choice on how I react. And that's where my happiness is driven from.
Mm,
And
that part.
that it's not gonna be when the business is built and when the bank account has money in it and whatever it is. I have to choose, otherwise I'm gonna lose my mind because I'm always gonna be in the pursuit of it. I have to have faith that that parachute is gonna open.
Ooh, ooh, that's so good. Earlier, you said something so poignant. There's a distinction between swimming upstream or deciding to turn around and go with your natural flow. And even if you decide to go with your natural flow, there will be bumps. It will not
You're
be a
gonna get
smooth
cut
ride.
up. It's gonna be ugly.
Yeah, it's going to be ugly. Now, there's a key difference in recognizing whether you're swimming upstream or you're just hitting a bump, but you're still going with your flow. How would you describe the difference between those two? How do you know when you're swimming upstream or when you're just going through a rough patch?
Two things come up for me. One, there will be signs, and the other is joy. So, the idea is I choose a word instead of like a at the, like at New Year's, instead of a resolution, I choose a word every year. And if
Yeah, I do
things
too.
I'm doing in my life don't align with that word, then I should aim to shed it, right? So I put it on a bracelet. If you don't know the company, and this is a plug and I'm not getting paid, myintent.com. I'm here if you want to give me a deal. Myintent.com. My word is joy. I've had this bracelet on for 2 years because I feel like I haven't mastered joy yet. But with this concept of swimming upstream, it's like I was at a company I never thought I would leave. And sometimes it takes an immovable object to move an immovable object. And the signs were there. And it's your choice to say, I'm going to ignore the signs and continue to hit my head against the wall. Or I'm going to take a moment and pause and go, these signs are really uncomfortable. And I might make the choice to turn my back and say, this no longer serves me. I don't know what's on the other side of that river. I'm going to jump in, turn my back, and we're going to find out, right? So there could be like physical people signs, things that you're like, that are the universe trying to get you to be like, we swim it upstream here. You're exhausted. If you're out of breath, if you're unhappy, if things aren't changing, if you want something more that you're not getting, that is your sign that you are swimming upstream.
Mhm.
If there is something in your soul that is nagging and you're not listening to it, you are swimming upstream. Now, the next logical thing is, well, how am I going to answer that call? How am I going to do that? That's not your job. Your job is to figure out how to cut ties with whatever the heck it is you're doing, and then be open to putting yourself in the position to receive getting on the stream and starting to go down it.
Ooh, so challenging. So challenging. I'll tell you what, I'm really grateful that my calling happened when I was, what, 22, 23 years old, and my frontal lobe wasn't fully developed yet, because my knack for adventure and doing crazy stuff was so much greater than it is now. I was able to just jump in and have faith and have fun, right?
So
But
so
now making these big decisions, it's so challenging.
well, for me, what I've learned is almost everything I've done in my life has been driven out of my own fear. All the decisions I made in a lot of aspects of my life were fear driven based on things that I had experienced in my life. And when my mom was alive, my mom was such a unique and amazing woman. And I'm not going to tear up. She had a tough life, but her creative entrepreneurial spirit, I felt like her life didn't allow her to reach where her soul should have been. And that always stuck with me. I was always like, my God, if I had an ounce of her talent, artistic talent, and her creativeness, like, oh, but her circumstances didn't allow. And I always just felt like she got cheated that way. She was just the most brilliant human. She looked at the world in such color and possibility. But because of my own traumas and, all the stuff that I had experienced and just where I was, I always held myself back out of fear. I'm in a new stage of life where I'm like, I've done that. I'm done giving into the fear. I feel like I'm in the bonus round of my life at this point. And so I try at all costs to not let fear drive my decision making. And it is a choice in every conversation, every moment. I have to catch myself. I am literally rewiring my brain. And I've gotten to the point where now I can almost intercept because I can feel it. I've worked with mind body, an amazing mind body coach out of Arizona, Amy Tyre, dear friend of mine. I love her. We did a year of mind body coach. And so one of the things she taught me is that I can now feel before my brain has fear or whatever it is, that I can be like, okay, it's coming. I got to intercept. I don't always do it, but there's certain things, I've had a lot of health issues in my life and things like that. And I think that a lot of that was the mental weight and how it resonated in my body. Like, it's just amazing. I mean, honestly, if you feel that fear, that tightness in your chest, my back hurts, those are signs that you are swimming upstream in whatever situation you're in. Now, if someone came to me and goes, well, I'm a single mother, there's not much I can do. I can't start my business and raise my kid. And I'm going to say, I don't know how to help you because I don't. I don't. I don't know what that looks like. That's not my area of expertise. But what I do say is, girl, the fact that we're having this conversation and you're coming to me is your first sign that there's something more out there for you. So while I don't know how to get you there, we need to find the people that are going to get you to where you need to be. And I don't know what those resources are, but let's chat and let's figure out where's your head at, and do I know anybody that might be able to help you start tackling it? But that's what I would say is that and it's not easy. That's the whole entire point. It's freaking terrifying. It's terrifying. But the idea is that's when you can start to delineate. So you've got this other thing, or if you have a word with joy or whatever it is, if it's not aligning with the vision that you have, that is a sign you are swimming upstream.
Yes. 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 You said something really important just now, and it was, if you're a single mother, I wouldn't know how to help you. But what we can do is find other people who do know how to help you. And that concept of, hey, if you don't know how to do something, if you don't know what to do next, aligning yourself and surrounding yourself with people who do know, that is a great first step. When you reach out to people who are where you want to go, they are more likely to have the answers that you're seeking before you even know how to form the question. That part, when you don't know what to do next, find the people who have been there.
I mean, I've been very fortunate to have a lot of support and a lot of things that have allowed me to be safe in going through my journey in my life. And I'm very fortunate with the family and friends and people that I have surrounding me. Um, and I think that's another part of it too, is that both can be true, right? Like you can have your traumas and the things that you need and the help that you need to reach out for and your past. And I think a lot of times we have to qualify it being like, oh, my parents were awesome though. Like my parents were awesome. And I grew up in an awesome household, but I also had these other things. Like we tend to do that, but it's really powerful to stand in that uncomfortable place and say like, okay, we're either going to deal with this or we're going to walk away from this. That's something I saw with my mother is that like when she got into a situation where after my father passed and she remarried, he did have a drinking problem and my mom did put him in rehabilitation. And as soon as he got out, he started drinking again. And she now had 3 of us kids and she said, "Nope, not today, Satan." And she's like, "You broke your deal. I'm out." And while it was tough on us, she was like, "I am not gonna raise my kids in this environment." And so she was a special ed teacher in West Philadelphia and taught special ed in, like, the '80s and '90s, which is, like, wild back in the day. She sold insurance, and she was a bartender at night. And her big goal was to keep us in the same house that we lived in growing up for stability, and she hustled. And that's where my hustle came from, and she was also a brilliant artist. So she did, like, hand-painted clothing, sneakers, and she tried to, like, sell stuff on the side, and she was just a brilliant, brilliant woman. I look at her hustle, but, like, she made that choice, and she was like, "I'm swimming upstream if I continue to do this," and it was not an easy decision, but she did things to what she thought was the best. However, that strength in taking herself out of there or that strength in saying, "I need help with this." And I also learned that she didn't ask for help a lot with the things that she needed. And it did her in certain ways with her body and her stress, both as a business person, but also as a mom, right? Like she said, the biggest thing that she always worried about me was how much I worried. That was her thing. She was always worried about how much I worried. And that's something I needed to work on because when you're worrying, you're swimming upstream. It's a sign you're not having faith in the bigger picture.
Right, right. Yeah. And ultimately, when you are worried, you cannot be making those high vibration moves that move the needle forward and that are in alignment with your calling. You just
And I
cannot
think
do
that's
it.
where I'm
You
at.
cannot.
I think that's where I'm at, like from a business standpoint too, right? This I'm now in the phase of like, what is healthy worrying and what is unhealthy worrying, and
Mhm.
trying to distinguish in my business. Is this like something I truly need to be worrying about, or am I just on the hamster wheel because I need something to do? Or is this actually a legitimate concern for the business? And it's the same thing when I'm raising my daughter. Do I need to worry about the fact that she won't eat anything other than chicken nuggets and peanut butter at 8 years old? And I'm trying these new Groons gummies that she's giving me a hard time about because the ads just keep getting served up to me, right? Another paid opportunity if anybody wants to send me free Groons gummies. But like, because she's not getting enough nutrition, like, is this something I really need to be on the hamster wheel and like killing myself over because my child won't eat other food? Or is she going to survive and I need to work on like something else, right? But but I think that this is also inherently something that women ourselves do because we're caretakers. We want, the best for everybody. Like that's just like our DNA. But it's the same with businesses. Like it's what is an unhealthy worry and what is a healthy worry. And that's like a new phase that I'm trying to navigate.
Right, right. And now, a quick message from our sponsor. Looking to take your brand, team, or event to the next level with custom gear that stands out? Virtue Screen Printing is your go-to one-stop shop for high-quality custom apparel and accessories. Whether you're launching a clothing line, gearing up your staff, or repping your squad, Virtue brings your vision to life with custom hats, shirts, hoodies, socks, beanies, and more. We're not talking cookie cutter merch. This is premium, fully customizable gear made with care and attention to detail. What makes Virtue different? It's simple. Low minimums, fast turnaround, hands-on customer service, and a passion for helping brands look good. From bold designs to subtle branding, they do it all and they do it right. Visit virtuemfg.com to get started or hit them up directly for a custom quote. That's virtuemfg.com, where vision meets craftsmanship. virtuemfg.com. Thank you for staying with us, and back to the show. You said something important about, are you on the hamster wheel just to keep busy? And that, I got to tell you, cutting out all of the busy work is a game changer for your business. When we can focus
Yes,
on what actually matters, what is actually developing our business, what is actually serving our clients and our customers, that is what matters most. It's the side busy work. We have to question, why are we doing that? And how do
it's
we either
control.
delegate it or cut it out? Yeah, it is
Yeah, it's
control.
control.
Yeah.
Ah, well, it was interesting. My coach, I worked with an amazing coach out of a company called Predictable Profits. Hi, guys. I worked with Tom, and they sent me a book. But the concept was that if you said, "Hey, I want to grow my business to 500,000 this year," there could be like 30 different ways you could do that. But if you're like, "I want to grow my business to 5 million this year," like there might be like one or two ways that you can do that. The idea is, as a leader, you need to be focusing on those one or two ways and to shed the 80%, delegate the 80%. And that's where that fear comes in, because you're like, "Oh, do I need to hire a full-time person? Do I need to take this off of my plate?" Like, then you sit down and you write down, like, what is the 80% of soul sucking stuff that I do every day? And could this go to someone else? Right? But
Mm.
then you're like, how do I keep the company lean? How do I do that? Right? So the best advice I got was from a dear friend of ours. And he said, early on when we started our business, find someone that could do multiple things, like a jack of all trades, as opposed to hiring multiple people, right? Just like find your right hand that can do many number of things. And we have been fortunate over the last 5 years to find the most amazing person. Julie, she works with us, and Julie is the company. Like, she's everything. She does a million things for the shop. She's beyond just sitting in the retail space. She's sales minded. She's social media minded. Like, that's that thing. And I can shed some of the 80%. So I can sit here and talk to you guys and maybe change the perspective of other people who are sitting in my seat where I was 3 years ago, just like other people have done and come before me.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that advice so much. Hiring people who are jack of all trades. And the hiring doesn't necessarily need to be
Yes.
9 to 5 if you're not quite there yet. It could be contractors,
No.
right?
It was
But the
and we
goal
have
is
contractors, almost everybody's contractors.
love it. Love it. Yeah. See, exhibit A. And so when you have people on your team who can do more than just one micro function, now you have more bases covered. And to level that up, when you can find people who are bringing ideas to the table, game changer. That collaboration, that synergy can take things to the next level in ways that you yourself, if you were working by yourself in a vacuum, you could never. You could never.
I mean, it's life-changing. I mean, it's absolutely life-changing, and I feel so incredibly fortunate, and this is where my new renewed vision for the purpose of the Woods Maine Shop is, and our online, where I really wanna grow our online business, and is that the only way I know how to thank these people is by creating something that will give them the life that they want to craft for themselves, whatever that is, whether it's a growth position in the company and they want to create their career with us and financial security, whether it's them creating ideas or products within our business. Like, I want us to be a vehicle and an outlet for them to be not going in their stream, right? Like, I want to be their stream where they're going to end up where they are meant to be, right? Like, I want to be that so that in their own lives, they don't feel like they're going against the current. Like, I want
Mm-hmm.
to be that water for them. And so I think, like you say, like when you bring somebody in that is multifaceted, like it's huge because then you're like, okay, you can say to them, like, you are great in all of these areas. What do you want in your life? Start to talk to me. What lights you up? I have had my team members write me a list of the things that they hate to do and all the things that they love to do. And I want to start focusing on giving them all the stuff that they love to do. Now, granted, some of the times they're going to have to do some things that they hate. However, if 80% of their time is spent on the things that they love and 20% is time, stuff like that, at some point we'll find somebody else who loves to do that 20% when we get big enough. And then you're just going to be living in the 80.
Yep. That is a recurring theme that I am hearing on this show with other guests who are also running successful businesses like yours. They are investing in their team members. They are getting to know their team on a deeper level. They are understanding how their team ticks and what lights them up. Because when we lean into our team members and we say, okay, this is what you love to do. This is what you're great at. Guess what? Naturally, we're going to have a better output and everybody's happy. Everybody wins. Why not build an environment where everybody's winning?
But it goes back to what we were talking about getting on the hamster wheel. Because if
Yeah.
people are performing at a high level because it lights them up, you find yourself less on the hamster wheel, just trying to fill
Yep.
the time with worry because someone else is worrying about it that probably cares more about it now than you did. Right? Which is a whole new ballgame. A couple months, like maybe it was a month or 2 ago, we hired a fractional CFO and we have Julie, and then my husband now is most like my husband because 80 I found my 80% was the bills coming due, the finances. Really what put me in a very bad mental health position last March was, the financial weight of the company because it's an area that I can do, but it is a big source of anxiety for me. And my husband is like, you ever see the movie A Beautiful Mind with like numbers? Like
Yeah.
that's like my husband,
Yeah.
right? Ugh, I don't know how he does it. He's like a numbers genius and he's operationally focused, contract negotiations, like he's just genius. And so the business was growing. I couldn't do it anymore. That was the 80%. I just sat there. Now, granted, we'd have conversations about it, but like he wasn't controlling, paying this bill and doing that. And I was doing all the stuff, the marketing. He basically was just trying to keep me from jumping out the window, right? Like he was just trying to raise our daughter because I was working and keep me from going out the window and doing the treehouse functions and helping the hospitality side of the business. But like on the shop side of the business, it was just basically keeping us forward, he was my sounding board. In the last, I would say 6 months, he's taken basically all of that off me, and it was 3 months ago, I discovered when I called Julie, our ops and everything, for the business, I called her and she said, "Hey, I'm on a call with Jim," which is our CFO, "and Rob." And I was like, "Was I supposed to be on this call?" She was like, "No, it's our weekly meeting." I'm like, "What weekly meeting?" And she's like, "It's our weekly finance meeting. Can I call you back?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I get home and I'm like, "What is this weekly finance meeting that you have on Thursday mornings? And why am I not there?" He's like, "I don't want you there." He's like, "You don't need to be there." He's like, "We're handling it. We talk about the priorities and the bills and this, that, and the other thing." And like part of me was like offended that like I was not like, I'm what? I'm not in this meeting.
You started this
And
company. I should be there.
I should be there. Like they're talking about things that I know about, right? It's been going on for like I think almost 2 months now. I happened to be home doing laundry the other day when the meeting was going on, and I found that I couldn't help but insert myself like 4 times into the meeting, and I was asked to leave the room. Um, but what this goes to show you is when you start to delegate, you hire those people that can do multiple things, when you get people involved, when you ask for help. When I was at the bottom of the barrel and I said to my husband, "I cannot do this anymore," and he realized like there was more, like he needed to come out of retirement and get back to the corporate life for a little while because he's been in retirement. When he came out of retirement and he stepped in, I'm not on that hamster wheel. That 80% that was literally sucking my soul, giving me thoughts I never wanted to have as a human,
Hmm.
the business runs better. It runs more efficient. It's tighter. Everybody's showing up and Julie loves what she's doing. Like, this is the thing is that, like, all of a sudden, if I'm letting go of control, things flourish. When I'm trying to hold on to control, I'm trying to hold on control because I want to be able for things. Like, I want to be the one that helps things flourish, right? So now I'm in this like new phase of learning that all this control I tried to have to keep everything, I have to learn to undo those habits. What I'm starting to realize as my child is now 8 years old, she has acquired those habits of control. So now I'm trying to figure out tools that I can teach her to be like our team refers to her as our CEO. Like Andy said to me the other day, like, I can't wait to be a parent and a CEO so I can tell people what to do. That's what she said to me. And I'm like, oh Lord, I have so much work to do on myself right now. And I need to give her the tools to not try to run the world. It's this delicate balance of like not trying to dim her light, but also wanting to snuff it out because I can't do it anymore. You're like, if I like, oh my word, if I survive raising her, it's going to be a miracle. But I'm also like, yeah, girl. But I'm also like, if you weren't my child, I would be like cheering you on from the sideline. Um, but you know what I mean? So it's all tied together. Even if going back to a parent, she sees me running the show. She wants to run the show for everybody.
Right.
It's this weird balance, right? But we're
Right.
also in a world where I'm like, part of me is like, I don't care if you're like a little bit of a boss because you're going to need to be. You're an only child, and it's an ugly world out there.
Oh my good that's something else. I have a niece who is the boss, and I am the one on the sidelines cheering her on because, man, if that spark within her can continue to stay lit into adulthood, she has a very bright future. Oh my
I
goodness. I'm
know.
so excited to hear that for
It's
your daughter
awesome.
too.
Well, what's great
Mm.
is, she was 2 when we started all of this, the treehouse, all of this. So she was raised during COVID. So we were running a business. So we say like, she's getting her MBA at home. But what is interesting is seeing her evolution of how she is a part of the business. So like now I'm like, Sunday, can you come in and help me with the register? And so, like, she's on it. She's like, "Do you know about our online store? Would you like a receipt?" Like, the whole thing, right? She's like, start to finish. She's standing up on a chair to do the register, and she just will do the register. It's amazing the evolution from just being in our photo shoots or on our interviews or whatever it is to where she is now. And in a few weeks, we have a pop up that we're doing and I'm gonna bring her and she's gonna work the pop-up with me. But this is what I wanted. I wanted to create a life, and this is what entrepreneurs like that I envisioned. And what I envisioned was that she was part of this creative outlet that we
Mm.
create. Um, and how do I integrate her in the business as opposed to it being like, because I could easily be working for someone else and saying, "Sorry, mommy's working. I can't do this." Now I'm like, "Mommy's working, but it's for us. And when I'm done, I'll let you know how you're involved."
Love that so much. When I had my son, I had already been a business owner. And so he was born into a world of mommy being an entrepreneur and daddy also being an entrepreneur. And so he's had ride-alongs with us to go do different business activities, and it's just so cool to have him be incorporated, and he's only 2.5, right? So it's very limited in what he can do, but to just have him along for the ride is so cool, and I look forward to hopefully a future where he is involved in other activities, bigger activities where he's more capable of doing, like how Andy is running the register for you. That's so cool.
Exactly. I imagine having your business and then having a child is a different set of challenges than what I experienced. Like, I discovered us because of her. You had it established. I imagine that that is a very challenging, and I'd love to just hear your perspective on this, but I imagine that it's very challenging in the sense that, like, you have this ambition and this vision, and then I say this with all amount of respect. This bomb goes off in your life and you're just like trying to survive. And you're like, how do I reconcile this clear, distinct path I was on? I'd love to just hear what that was like for you.
Yeah, Sam nailed it. It definitely felt like a bomb went off, even though we wanted a child, right? We wanted him in our lives. He was very
Yeah.
much who was the or he was very much the next step for our family planning. And also it did feel like a bomb went off in our life. It felt like everything had to shift in ways that we couldn't possibly predict, no matter how many parent friends we spoke to and gathered their ideas and perspectives. We really didn't have many people in our life to reach out to who were entrepreneurs and then had children. So that perspective was missing. That's part of why I started the show, right? Because I go out into the podcast world and I'm piecing together bits of information from different sources. I have to go to specifically a business podcast or specifically a parenting podcast in order to fill in all the gaps that I just didn't know. So there was definitely a large learning curve with the actual practical parts of being a parent. How do I parent? How do I actually console this crying baby or change diapers or figure out if he's sick or not? Like all these things. But also there was a huge learning curve within myself. Who am I now? And that's a very common identity shift for mothers in general and and dads too in general. For me, it was like, okay, I had this very full life before I had my son. I had this very full life, right? I'm like, I'm doing all the things. I've got my different businesses. I'm living a life that I have very intentionally designed. And now, how do I incorporate this child into this world? There's no guidebook for this. There's no guidebook for parenting, period. And then there's just I have zero idea. So I just did the best that I could, which is the best that we can do as humans, right? I used the data that I had previously, which is like, okay, I know what my business needs to bottom line survive. I'm going to go into bottom line survival mode for a while to keep it afloat while I figure out motherhood. And I have to learn how to be okay with that too. Because that was another part of it. I'm very ambitious. I wanted big things. But that bottom line survival mode felt like giving in and it felt like giving up in a way. But in reality, that was just how things had to be for a while. And I had to be okay with that. So it was a huge shift. It was crazy.
Well, I mean, this needs to be said more often, right? This is not what's coming across our feeds, these type of things, right? And I think like that's what's so powerful is like that right there is the perspective of like motherhood brought me to entrepreneurship because it made me fearless. Or it's this identity crisis when you have your vision built out and now you have to reset or be more patient with yourself because it's not going to happen on the timeline in the way that you may have mapped out, right? That adaptability piece of it. But I think like that's what needs to be coming out more because that is what's going to help release the pressure on the mental health aspects of being a mother, running a business, being a partner, being a friend. I mean, being a family member. I mean, all of this stuff, like how you show up, but then most importantly, how are you showing up for yourself through all of this? And those conversations, I think, are lacking and need to be surfaced more because I think it would make more people more successful,
Nailed
frankly.
it, sister. Nailed it. That is exactly why we're here today. That is
Yes.
exactly
Well,
why we're doing
I
what we're doing.
love this. I really greatly appreciate this conversation. I think it's incredibly important and underrated.
Yep. 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 I'm so glad you see the value in it too. And I'm so looking forward as of this recording date to get this out into the world and help other listeners develop strategies and confidence within themselves based on this conversation and the many other conversations that happen on this show, because I know that this is helpful. I just know it. This is what people
Absolutely. And
can
like I
benefit
say,
from.
if one or two people walk away changing their perspectives, and if I had like 3 takeaways from like this whole thing is like, go Google Steve Harvey's Jump, life-changing. Ask yourself, am I swimming upstream? If so, you're going in the wrong direction. And 3, you're not alone.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I love it. Sam, thank you. Thank you so much. This
Thank
has been a
you. I
fantastic
appreciate it.
conversation.
I love it, and I love what you're doing. You're doing amazing things for people.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you for joining us on Bringing Up Business. If you could, please take a moment to subscribe to and rate the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram at bub.podcast. That's BUB.podcast. Finally, we'd love to get your feedback. If you have a comment or a guest idea, please let us know on our website, bringingupbusiness.com. Until next time, thanks for joining us. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Say bye-bye. See you later.
Bye-bye. See you later.
This recording is for informational purposes only and should not be considered business advice. Opinions expressed are as of the date of recording and are subject to change without notice. The views and opinions of guests on this program are not necessarily those of Umari Digital and its affiliates, which together we refer to as Umari Digital. Umari Digital is not affiliated with guests or their business affiliates unless otherwise stated. Umari Digital does not guarantee the accuracy or the completeness of the data presented herein. This recording is for informational purposes only, and the information, data, analysis, or opinion it includes or their use should not be considered business, financial, or legal advice. Umari Digital shall not be responsible for any decisions, damages, or other losses resulting from or related to the information, data, analysis, or opinions or their use. All business decisions are subject to risk, including possible loss of capital. Individuals should seriously consider if a decision is suitable for them by referencing their own financial position. Thank you.